You motherfucking tube. It's your boy Rallo Jenkins. So just want to kick one off real quick, man. I'm gonna try and keep it short. There's nothing I can really say per se about the Wilder Fury fight that hasn't already been said. So I'm gonna let that be. It was a great fight. Thoroughly enjoyed it. I can't wait to see it go get ran back. But just looking around YouTube boxing community and seeing a lot of guys talking about robbery or, Fury definitely won the fight, conspiracies, yada, yada, yada. Brings me to one of my old points that I've been talking about since I've been on YouTube. I think it's this slight narcissistic view of how boxing is scored. And I say narcissistic because, for instance, I have gone on to question and debate people about how fights are scored. And when you ask a person, how do you score a fight? It's usually always the same answer. And I would always wonder, how can we always have these arguments about a fight, but everyone says the same thing? You say, well, how do you score a fight? Clean, effective punching, ring generalship, effective aggression, and defense. You know what I'm saying? Some order, of that nature. And I don't question whether that is with the criteria that people use, but what one believes is that criteria is always one's own discretion. So for instance, I break it down in layman terms, something that we all can understand without being complicated is, let's say I ask somebody, well, how would you describe a bad bitch or how would a bad chick have to be for you to say she a bad chick, right? And then we just talking physical looks, you know what I'm saying? We ain't talking about, nothing outside of how she looks physically. And most people would say, she gotta have a fat ass, nice tits, a little bitty waist, no stomach, flat stomach, and a pretty face, right? And if I said that, most guys would agree. She pretty, nice rack, slim waist, fat ass, right? Now you might get some others who are gonna break it down to further explain what they like and what they don't like, but those would be the four major categories of what a woman would have to be. So if I was to present a woman with all of those criterias, then you would have a plethora of guys who could then say, once I presented this woman, some might say, oh, I don't like her titties. They look fake. They up too high. Some guy might say her titties way too big. I like a nice handful. I don't like much more than that. Some might say her ass is big, but it don't look right, don't fit with her thighs and her waistline. Some would say that, Some might say she pretty, but she got on too much makeup. I don't really like makeup. Some might say she got long hair. I prefer a girl with short hair. Or she got short hair. I prefer a girl with long hair. That's just all of the things that you would possibly hear. And I realized that boxing really ain't no different. So let's just say any fight that you pick, if you hearing my voice right now, any fight that you pick, round 2 minutes of the round. From round 2 minutes in to 2 minutes and 20 seconds. How you dissect that 20 seconds of the fight basically tells how you judge a fight. But it doesn't necessarily mean that the way you're scoring it is the correct way. There is no correct way. Because it's always left up to being subjective to the person viewing it. So for instance, within that 20 seconds. I'm going to give you a base scenario. You got one guy on the back foot, back close to the ropes. He's circling, throwing a jab. He's a orthodox fighter. He's double pumping the jab. Doof, doof. He's missing. And he's circling around. And the other guy is closer to the center of the ring. He's slightly moving forward, but he's not throwing punches. Now, in that scenario, one could say, well, one guy is outworking the other guy. He's not landing punches, but the other guy ain't even throwing punches, so the other guy's winning. Some might say that one guy is the ring general. He's on the outside and he's moving. Somebody else could say the other guy's the ring general because he's making the other guy move off his spot. Somebody could also say the other guy's using better defense because he's making the other guy miss. All of these are scenarios that you've heard someone explain on why they judged the fight the way that they judged the fight. None of them are wrong. None of them are not criterias on which to base a fight on. It just depends on which one you give more credence to or not. Now, the obvious is, a dude hit a dude with a right hand. Fighter A hits fighter B with a right hand and he hits the deck. That's clear and obvious. There is no debate and discussion about that. It's all that other shit. So, just like years ago, when Canelo lost his first fight, and everybody was in uproar about how in the hell could Canelo have gotten a draw in that fight. And I went to a few people and I said, I could see how Canelo could have gotten a draw. I scored it 9-3 against Canelo, but I could definitely see the draw. And the reason that I could see the draw is because I understand that just because that's how I scored the fight and what I seen in the fight isn't necessarily what somebody else seen in the fight. And once you have a fight where you have to decipher the difference between two guys who not really landing a lot of punches, that makes it muddier. It gives you room to distinguish how you want to distinguish the difference between fighter A and fighter B in any type of scenario. If you ain't really going in there putting hands on the dude, everything else lends to be toward however you perceive or your preference in a fight. And as much as I believe that Tyson Fury probably won the fight, once you take that defensive fighter's style and attitude into a fight, you leave room for interpretation. And it could not be in your favor. You know what I'm saying? No matter how much you thought about Deontay Wilder's skills in the ring, or whether you think that he could fight or box, when he got done with the fight, it was no doubt left up to you on who the winner was. There was never any doubt, except for maybe the first Stavern fight. But when you have that type of style that Tyson Fury fought with, and he's not the only one, there's been plenty before that. When you fight with that style, you leave room for interpretation. You leave room for people to say, or for you to assume that people understand what you're trying to get done in the ring. Everybody doesn't have the same understanding of what you intend to happen inside of the ring. And also, too, we have this scenario here. And I've asked this question before. Why is it that a dude who runs around the ring and uses his legs more than his hands considered a boxer? I've always asked this question. I've asked this question in videos, on phone, on Hangouts. I've asked this question and I've gotten plenty of different answers. And what I realize is we've tricked ourselves, or most people have tricked themselves into believing that, for instance, in the Wilder and Fury situation, that There was no way that Deontay Wilder could win a boxing match against Tyson Fury. He could only win if it was considered a brawl. So no matter how good Deontay Wilder did as the quote-unquote boxing, he could never be perceived as winning a boxing match against a guy who was perceived to be a much better boxer than he was. And that's where the lines always get twisted. If you believe that Tyson Fury is such a fucking good boxer that Deontay Wilder had no business being in the ring boxing with him, then Deontay Wilder lost the fight already before he even stepped in the fucking ring. And sometimes we go into those situations to only reinforce what we already believe to be true. And if you go back and look at the fight, there were times in that fight where Deontay Wilder boxed well. He didn't look as fluent and as nimble as Tyson Fury did because we're used to seeing Tyson Fury look that way. We're used to seeing Deontay Wilder knock people the fuck out. So when he's not doing that, it looks foreign or awkward to our subconscious to a degree. So then, as long as Tyson Fury's not getting knocked the fuck out, your subconscious trying to reinforce what you already programmed your mind to think about the fight, all you see is Tyson Fury must be boxing because he's not getting knocked the fuck out, and completely ignoring any type of boxing skill that Deontay Wilder could be showing in the fight. And that has happened in several fights. You know, I can go back to Laura Canelo, or, you know, Canelo against some dude that he finally got his first loss against. As Landy Laura Paul Williams. It's been plenty of those fights. Plenty. Pacquiao Bradley, you know. It's just been so many instances where we completely ignore one guy's abilities in the ring because of his preconceived identity of who he was or has become as a fighter and his opponent. You know what I'm saying? And it just, we go into that mindset thinking that, you know, just for instance, if you took the Bears and the Rams, you know, because it was a low scoring game, that was the Bears game, right? And they beat the Rams because they kept it low scoring. But just as well as they could win a 10-3 game, they could also win a 40-33 game. But if it's that type of game, we're going to automatically assume that the Rams played the type of game that they wanted to play and the Bears didn't, as if the Bears aren't capable. Trubisky threw 5 touchdowns in one game, and I fuck around and had to play that dude in fantasy that particular week, and I'm thinking to myself, how in the fuck this dude throw 5 touchdowns in one game? So he is capable of doing that, you know? So the one thing I want to leave y'all with is to, however you believe that a fight should be scored, you're not wrong in the way that you scored the fight. But just believe in your heart of hearts that if you think that the way you score a fight is the only way that a fight should be scored, then just know that you are a narcissistic thinker and narcissistic in your ways. It's your boy, Rollo Jenkins. Holla at your boy.